7秒経過。
Another week, another Gavv. And although some earlier predictions I had were disproven this week, the backstory presented here was beyond satisfactory. I mean, seriously, but this is like the earliest I've done a Kamen Rider review in a while. The hell is this? 2022 with Geats? Maybe, but here's hoping that we don't hit the fumble after the holidays like that show did. So with that, let's get right to this week's Gavv. Shoma finds himself on the countryside, but broke because he spent all his money on new hoodies. So he can't even afford the veggies on the countryside. But who needs to pay when there's free ones nearby? Oh, it turns out it belongs to this old couple who think Shoma's their son? So when he dies from starvation again, they load him up in a home-cooked meal. And yeah, he looks exactly like their son. It's here that we find out that Shoma and his mom resorted to having to eat plants off the side of the road when he was a kid. So with a sad story like that, the old couple can't just help but take him in. All this while Shitter and Jeep tried to hide their findings from their older brother, blaming it on their lost workers. But we come to learn that Nirav modified those granutes seen previously, but he's also not one to be fooled so easily. On that subject, Hanto is checking out Scientist Guy's crib, and this guy is Suga, who indeed explains to him everything that we already know. However, the tidbit from here that is new is the process of glassification, because Suga believes that this is an effective way to gather spice. Curious on how the delicious snacks has gotta be, but while going off on these spices, Hanto realizes that his mom was taken as food and his chances of finding her just dropped to 0. And this tells Suga that glassification wasn't always the way that they gathered human, so it's gotta be new. Realizing how insensitive he's been towards this entire conversation, he steers the convo towards defeating the Granute, and he's cooking up a way to do it. And Hanto might just be that guy to implement it. So much so that Hanto goes to tell his boss about Suga, but he's not really buying it. We now join Shoma playing Farm Sun Simulator, taking a break to enjoy the snacks the original son loved. Marshmallows. Getting in the squishy goodness until the mud gut hits. Dropping a load onto his hands and going for seconds. But someone caught him dropping those deuces. Who's that Gochizo? I'm gonna say Fuwamallow. It's
Jigglypuff seen from above.
I hate you, but you know what? Fuwamallow actually technically does look like Jigglypuff when they make that puffed up face, so I guess this checks out. So while on his way with his not parents, he gets ambushed by an agent and knocking those old folks harder than Mike from Samurai.
You got served.
You know you're wrong for that, right? Yes. Yeah, don't go showing your face at any convention he's at. Just saying. Word of advice. What's Mike gonna do? Drop me too? I ain't that old. Thought so. Anyway, Shoma runs that fight away from the old folks just to get confronted by Shitter and Jeep. Which, yes, for those confused, Shitter is the sister and Jeep is the brother. Get it? Got it? Good. They point out that Shoma's been making those old folks real tasty recently and point to his lack of deliciousness, because that Gavv he's got prevents him from getting spiced up like his mama. So we get the flashback that we've all been waiting for, showing us Shoma's mom's final moments, being confronted by the rest of the Stomach family, having free reign now with Daddy gone. They decide to just glass them up, even if they won't be tasty. And while Mama definitely got that glass, Shoma seems to be fine. But what a better way to break his spirit than break his mom right in front of him. Not once, but twice. And since Rango's agents didn't seem to finish him off, Shitter and Jipu's agents definitely will. Oh, here we go. Fight time! Brought to you by Fluffernutters. Fluffernutters, better than PB&J in every single way, shape, and form. And if you disagree, then I'll be knocking on that door shortly. Now then, who needs Grenade of the Week when we've got Ambu Black Ops with guns? Already blowing up his gummies, but he comes in packing swords with slashes. And Kamikaze Chizos. These agents mean business, not taking any of Gavv's shit. And cap him once again while chokeholding. Well, I guess he's dead. Until he realizes that his gummies be like gushers!
Gushers, beware the...
But watch out now. We've got new snack on hand with Fuwamallow, giving us the hefty form. Not only is he too fluffy for them, but the flavor text is actually physical! Using them hands like Powerpuff Girls to figure out his swordplay! Getting that puff action to cave in that ground, and here comes the Roloda action! Steaming over those agents and doing them all in. That leaves tonight's kill count at 2 agents and 4 Go-Chizos. Maybe 5, because I don't know what happened to that sword one. But now, back to you. So, you think Shitter and Jeep are about to catch those fluffy hands? Nah, bruh. They out. And so is Shoma. Out of those old people's lives, that is. As he wanders away and passes out from them hunger pains once more. With this episode of Kamen Gavv, we get Fuwamallow! And with that, a brand new form. So, let's talk form. You know, I loved this form the first time I saw it, and in action, it won me over even more. I wasn't expecting the text to appear with the transformation to actually be there. And look, I know it's something that we got in the trailer originally, but you know, it could have just been trailer fun. But nope, it's actually in the show. Once again, they've captured the fluffy goodness of the marshmallow textures just perfectly on here. And he's so swole that his hands can't even grip. But that's honestly a part of the charm here. Then you get the steamroller form thrown at us as well? Definitely was not on my bingo card for him. Sure, the hulking CG was alright, a clip from time to time, but that steamroller though? That's good. Rating time! This episode continues to feed us well in terms of backstory, with heavy leanings on the dramatic nature of it all. The relationship with the family gets some more explanation while continuing to give us teases of so much more. I can't believe we're really doing this, but I gotta say that this is like another 10 out of 10 episode and getting that stomach ass! So the family dynamic is much different than I first thought, with this episode really laying it out that not only did the others know about Shoma and his mom, but they literally held nothing back once their father died. This not only is a cold-blooded scene, but truly tragic, because if anyone had hoped that Shoma might be able to bring his mom back, nah. This episode not only showed us her getting glassed again, but also getting the spice pumped out of her, and then to add insult to injury, they crushed the already broken glass. Talk about beating a dead horse, but yeah, Shoma definitely has tragic backstory syndrome. And I'll probably, honestly, be mad if they bring her back to life now, because you can't get better than that. Now, Suga speculated that glassification was a new process based off of Hanto's mom getting snatched, which answers the question on why Shoma's mom wasn't already glassed. They captured folks the old-fashioned way, and while Shoma's mom may have been able to catch the eye of the daddy, it seems that Hanto's mom didn't get the luxury, and also gives us tragic backstory for him as well. The hopes of either of them getting their moms back seems close to zero as possible, but the flashback for Shoma also indicates that the glassification is new. Because as we've seen in recent episodes, the process is instant. But back in the distant past of minutes before episode 1, she was able to mouth off a few times before getting that glass. Or it was just done for dramatic effect. Probably just done for dramatic effect. Or the Granute was just getting used to the augmentation, because that's another thing that we get here. If you look at the Stomach family transform, they retain a lot of their human-like physique, like they're agents, with the only thing really changing being their heads. And Nidab does mention that he was checking in on the modifications that he's done on the twins' workers, meaning that their extra buff physique could be attributed to these modifications. Either that or the Granutes come in stages: clothed form and naked form, as seen in the scientist guy in the preview. The twins meeting with Shoma was really the gift that kept on giving, since besides the expansion on the backstory, we also get them pointing out his Gochizo, specifying that they thought he lacked the ability to produce these things. Now, currently the Gochizos aren't actually named within the show, and Jipu does refer to them as Kenzoku, which I don't really know which version of the word they're using here, because if we go based off of the kanji, then it would mean family, while if they go off the hiragana, then it would mean research, which both seem to be on brand here, as they are a reproduction of Shoma via food. Literally food babies! Which of course is shit, but hey! This has had a couple in my circle speculate that the agents that each of the Stomach siblings have are their Kenzoku. But if that's the case, what the hell are they eating to make a deuce that big? What are y'all, Randy Marsh? But the fact that they are so obedient and consistently watching while reporting back to their boss is very similar to how Shoma's Gochizos are. So that is a real possibility the more that I think about it. But they could also just be regular Granutes, since their deaths are more like shocker foot soldiers than how the Gochizos leave their spirit behind. Then we get to the red Gavv that impairs Shoma from being glassified, and it looks like next week we are going to get more details on that as we get introduced to a Granute that experimented on Shoma? Y'all, this show is really giving me way too much. This is like the most Showa-esque we've ever been getting in a mainline entry in years, and I am all for that. Ishinomori probably wouldn't care much about the writer design of this entry, but he'd probably dap up Junko for bringing that steak to the cookout. This episode was tragic on multiple fronts. From Shoma's backstory, Hanto getting the realization that his mom is likely being ate by monsters, but the bigger one was the old couple. They lost their son 20 years prior, and since they straight up say he passed away, that means that he's not spiced up. But the bitterness of this all is that, yes, Shoma does vastly improve their life. He makes them beyond happy, but he chose not to go back to them. Not even leaving a note like he did for Sachika and Hajime, because he doesn't want them to be a target. And sure, without him in their life, they won't be as happy, but that also means that they won't be a premium product anymore. It sucks, but it shows the struggle Shoma has to deal with. And even with all that, they still pray for his safety. Seriously, the victims of the week really have been the stars in their own ways thus far. It makes it a little hard to even notice that we didn't even get a monster of the week. We just had 2 agents, which they can clearly throw hands. And I love how they amped up one of them to give Shoma like, he's really about to beat that ass look. That's some peak suit acting right there. And that's also budget done right. Because sure, we get foot soldiers in every show, but to make them strong enough to the point that they can stand their own and as a stand-in for a monster of the week? I don't know why they didn't think about this sooner! But of course, we know that as Shoma gets stronger, the more cannon fodder these agents will become. But that's why they thought ahead and gave us a variety on them, depending on which sibling they came from. Backpedaling a little bit, it does appear to get clarified what Shoma and his mom were eating while locked up. They were picking up grass from the side of the road and ate that. I guess the soup was made from grass, and that ain't that great either. But since that is more organic food, like, bentos and the stuff that he's been eating while on Earth, that explains why he was never able to produce a Kenzoku. So, I'm still actually wondering what the hell the Stomach family has been eating. Unless they've been eating whole people. And if that's the case, then the agents if their mask gets broken, would they reveal the person that they used to be? Jesus! I might be onto something! They might be able to ask pull Shoma and Hanto's moms coming back! Now back to the agents, because we do get another agent this week, with Hanto's conversation with his boss being eavesdropped by one of Nirib's agents. Because once again, they all have their own coloration, and his seemed to be orange. And the conversation that they were eavesdropping in was related to Suga. So it would be an interesting dynamic if he has some sort of correlation with Nirib, since both are scientists. It would be crazy if Suga was working for Nirib or adjacent to him. I know some speculate that the agent could be just Suga himself to see how his plan is working out, which could explain why he knows so much about Granutes to begin with, but that would also mean that he's feigning ignorance when it comes to some of his knowledge base. Nirib seems to have some sort of curiosity regarding Shoma, and that kinda alludes to the teaser for next week that his Gavv might be a modification, while Suga is also creating his own henshin device using Shoma's Gochizo for the sake of destroying Granutes. So hear me out. I do think that Suga could still be human, but have had contact with Nirib, and since both are scientists researching and developing new enhancements, they could essentially be war profiting in some way. Competition does create innovation, and the two competing in research could be what leads to the growth system in this show, leading to more natural power scaling in the long term, which, once again, would be storytelling done right with the foundations already in place. So, Nirib could be using modification on the Granutes to use as guinea pigs as he advances himself, and Suga could be doing the same, except Hanto could be that guinea pig. Never trust them scientists, dudes, because they're always scheming, and the thing is, they always think that they're smarter than the rest of the cast. Having one on each side really just takes it to a whole nother level, especially since they went out of their way to show us that Nirib has a symbol that's different from the others in the Stomach family. See, there's just so much. This is the show that just is the gift that keeps on giving currently, because I am loving the dialogue and the discussions. But before I ramble on even longer, those are my thoughts. What are yours? What did you think about this week's Kamen Rider Gavv? The mama crushing, the scientist chiming, and the bouncing goodness of marshmallows. Anyway, that's it for me. I will catch you all on the next one. Until then, bye.